It was Christmas night on a battleground. Every weary man laid his rifle down. Through the burning mist, you could hear the sound of a carol song on a battleground.
Howdly diddly.
What's going on, everybody?
I hope you had a goodly turkey datey.
Don't-
I fucked that up.
Yeah, you did. Let's just stop while we're behind. Yeah. Don't adjust your viewing or listening device. This is the Battle Bros podcast. We opened up the show just a little bit differently today. As you see, we are going to be talking a little bit of history today, but we'll get into that in a minute. As I mentioned previously, this is a Battle Bros podcast. My name is Mac. This is my best friend Alamo. We are the Battle Bros. Thanks for stopping by. If you're new to the program, thanks so much for checking us out. We're just two buddies that have been friends since high school. We both went on to be to join the military, post 9/11 GWAT military, and we'll kind of get more into that story at the very end of the show, like we always do. But yeah, so we have a podcast. We talk about issues related and pertaining to the veteran and military communities. So, yeah. So hopefully you like what you hear and or see, and check it out and give us the old college try before you say, hey, you guys suck.
Hell yeah.
It's all good. If you're coming back and joining us again, thank you so much for your continued support. We appreciate it. It's for you folks out there that we do this, along with some other reasons as well. But you guys definitely help to keep the fires of inspiration burning and push us forward to the next week. So you can go online. You can check out our YouTube page. Just search Battle Bros Podcast. We have a full YouTube page there that will also link you to all of our other social media accounts on Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. You can also hit the like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell whenever we have new episodes. Like tonight, when we go live on Friday nights, you can get notifications for that as well. But if it's your first time, we get it. Kick the tires a little bit, try it out, try it before you buy it, all that good stuff.
And light them fires.
Exactly. So if you caught our show last week's episode was episode 115. We talked about the subject of betrayal and why that's kind of a big stop button issue for guys that are veterans, military type stuff. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. So we kind of discussed that pretty good in depth for the hour or so that we were on the program last week. You can always feel free to go back and check that out. It is available on our Spotify page. Anywhere you can listen to podcasts or whatnot, you can go back and check that out. It is episode 115 of the Battle Bros podcast entitled Betrayal. Before we get into this week's episode, we actually have a little bit of news that actually happened earlier this week. If you weren't aware, so there's been the ongoing National Guard deployments here inside of the continental U.S., some of the major cities in the country. One of those cities is the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. There was an incident earlier this week where a gunman opened fire on some National Guard soldiers from the state of West Virginia. 2 of them were injured. One of them, let me pull up the article here. Sorry, folks. I had the wrong tab open. One of them is Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, who is, I believe, 23 years old. And there is Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, who is 20 years old. Well, unfortunately, was 20 years old. She has unfortunately succumbed to her injuries, which is, unfortunate. And the first thing I thought of is like, of all the shit that I used to get, National Guard, oh, you guys are just weekend warriors. Well, here these guys are freaking going and doing their part for, a federal mission and stuff. and from a couple of the different news sources that we have, that they had only been in DC less than 24 hours. They had just showed up and got sworn in to their position. I think it's because they were getting federalized, I believe, Alamo. Is that correct?
Yeah, they got federalized. Yeah, correct.
So there is that. And then some other information. This is kind of what was kind of the other part of the story, is that the gunman is 29-year-old Ramanula Lakanwal, who is an Afghan national. He apparently came to the country in 2021 during the Biden administration because of the fact that he was involved with helping according to Homeland Security spokesman, so he came into the U.S. in 2021 under the Biden administration, applied for asylum in 2024, and was granted status in April under the Trump administration, according to different law enforcement sources. What's interesting is that there's two kind of big things that stuck out about this. One, when he was in country, I believe it was around the area of Kandahar, he was actually involved with helping U.S. forces and coalition forces and whatnot, whether it's translator duties or some other type of things like that. I don't know the specifics of that, but he was involved with helping U.S. and coalition forces in that area of the country. And apparently, to carry out this plan, he drove all the way from Washington State down to Washington, D.C. So the FBI, in a statement, FBI Director Patel was saying, hey, we've already got this guy's life kind of under a microscope. We're kind of doing all these interviews and this, that, and the other. So it's, yeah, here we go. This is the other article I was going to pull up real quick. So, yes, he had worked with CIA-backed military units during the U.S. war in Afghanistan, which the CIA director did confirm to media outlets. Those CIA-backed units included counter-terrorism squads known as Zero units, which were involved in combat missions to seize or kill suspected terrorists. Because of this, I believe they have suspended all of the visa applications for Afghan nationals until they kind of figure out what's going on with all this stuff. So, but yes, it's unfortunate. we did have a line of duty death for a member of the National Guard, which is very, it's one thing when you're overseas, you kind of expect it. That's always in the back of your head, like, hey, something could happen anytime. It is what it is. But when you're here, it's just like you're on duty, but it's probably not the same. You're like, okay, I'm still stateside. It's not going to be that bad. It's not like we're rocking through Missoula or some crazy shit, like it was back in the heat of the moment and heat of the day. So a little bit of news there. So, that is unfortunate. So just be thankful that such warriors are out there protecting us and keeping us safe. So, but
head on a swivel, ladies and gents, head on a swivel.
Yeah, absolutely. Just pay attention. And that's something I try to impose on, not impose, but try to impress upon my daughter when we're out and about. It's just like, hey, pay attention to shit because you never know. So
never knew.
But indeed. That being said, we got that kind of not so happy news out of the way. But so since today, and again, like Almo said a little bit ago, hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. We kind of wanted to get into the holiday season. Now it's officially the Christmas season. Now Thanksgiving is past.
Wanted to start it off right.
They're already blaring the damn, Christmas carols and the tunes. Like they were doing that last week when I was stopping in places. It's like,
Mary, did you know that your baby boy? Sorry.
You good? You good?
Yeah.
Let's This isn't. Are you auditioning for freaking American Idol? Like, shut up. Let's go. Jesus.
Simon, call me.
No, not a fan. Anyway,
that was absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Just get like, oh, you stupid fucking wanker. Like, I know that's not exactly any type of specific accent, but I just love when people get cussed out in British accent.
It's pretty funny because it's like they're so prim
Golden.
and proper. It's
That,
just like,
or you hear that, you hear
yeah.
the Irish, like somebody with a really thick Irish brogue, like start talking trash and stuff. It's like, oh, they're like, let's go, talk them. Anyway, so to start off this holiday season, well, this Christmas season, we kind of wanted to do something a little bit different. You know, some of the topics we've had recently have been a little bit kind of, not necessarily on the, I want to say the negative side, but they're kind of some more serious issues that can be kind of, a little bit down. So we did want to talk about something, kind of switch gears and talk about something historically based. So for this episode, this is episode 116 of the Battle Bros podcast. We're going to be talking about a historical event that's over 100 years old. We are talking about the Christmas Truce from December 24th and 25th of 1914 during World War I along the Western Front in Europe. Okay. So we kind of were kind of kicking around this idea. We had some time. It's like we got a couple of weeks to kind of focus on this kind of stuff. So it's like, hey, this is good. Let's do it. So I'm going to let Almo run point on this because this was kind of something he got really super excited about. So, yeah. So go for it, dude.
All right. So one thing that I can honestly say, and honestly, the page is just kind of up there for reference, kind of so like you guys can see like some of the sources that we had.
But what if they're not watching? What if they're listening?
If they're listening, you can find the source that the source that we reviewed, at least one of them, on Britannica.com. All you have to do is go, Britannica.com/event/ the Christmas Truce, and you'll be able to actually pull that up. Or you could just, Google the Christmas Truce.
Let me pause you real quick. You said something earlier, and now that I think about it, it's just one of those. So Alamo said, it's so crazy that Britannica is still around, but it's only a website. They don't have the hardbound encyclopedias anymore. And like the encyclopedias, I remember when I was a kid, that were freaking huge and had so many damn volumes. I can only imagine what that would look like now.
I had a whole collection of them, dude.
Yeah.
My mom was very particular about making sure we had them.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But now it's just something else. They can be like, hey, old timer, you were around when Britannica actually printed the volumes of their encyclopedia. I'm like, yeah.
Yep. Facts.
And your point is, go learn.
Those are the good old days there, Bucko.
Yeah, right. Something else that we get called old for. It's like, shut up, jerk. So anyway, the floor is yours.
So the Christmas Truce. World War I was really known as probably one of the bloodiest wars in our history up until that point. I mean, we're talking about what, over I believe it was over 16 million dead. That's military personnel as well as civilian, right? Actually, let me make sure before I continue with that. I've looked it up before. I can't remember. I believe it was about 16 million.
I mean, I know that they were talking about.
Oh my God, Jesus. Way worse. 37 to 40 million. The 15-ish million was it looks like including 15 million and 22 million deaths and about 23 million wounded. So military deaths, the military deaths was sitting at about 9 to 11. Total deaths was between 15 to 22. Total casualties, you're looking at about 37 to 40 million. Civilian deaths, dear God, we're sitting at about 6 to 13 million. Now, when you think about those numbers, the crazy part is this isn't, you got to remember, this isn't time. This wasn't a time during the Holocaust. This wasn't time, where there was a lot of ethnic cleansing. Now, weirdly enough, um, there is some of that was going on, and I believe it was Russia, if I remember correctly. I like listening to audiobooks, specifically stuff on history, and World War One has been very interesting to me. The Christmas Truce though was just fantastic. And I figured like it'd be a great way to open in, but like when it comes to the casualty rate, I mean, it's absolutely insane to think about those numbers, because you wouldn't imagine, you know, you wouldn't imagine a war that took place over 110 years ago to have such a, well, just such a horrendous freaking body count. You know what I'm saying? But key factors that differentiate this war from wars that took place not even like barely a few decades before it was, number one, this was the first time a war was fully and completely like heavily industrialized. Like we're talking ammunition production of, more modern weapons, like, the implementation of the machine gun, whereas many people were just using rifles and, cannons and things of that nature, you know what I'm saying, that could do a fair amount of damage, but in rapid cessation, as certain firearms did back then. I mean, holy crap, that it didn't exist until that point. And rank
Which
and
is and
file,
all those things are kind of what led it to be called the Great War, because of the fact
Great
that
War.
you had all this stuff going on, the mass amounts of deceased that were going on. I mean, hell,
Yep.
I was I think it was reading somewhere early in one of these articles, they were expecting that this would be, I think it started in what, the countries, the
Summer of
countries of Europe,
1914,
summer of 1914, and they were expecting
yeah,
it to be done by
right after the
Christmas.
assassination of the Duke Franz Ferdinand.
Yeah. And they were expecting everything to kind of get wrapped up by Christmas, but then they kind of quickly saw that it was a stalemate, and it's like,
right,
yeah, that's probably not gonna go on.
and that
like
was the
that.
mindset. That was the mindset, though, because many wars that Europe had fought between before that, many of them had only lasted what, months, sometimes weeks. You know what I mean? A lot of these combat engagements didn't last very long, but when you have the just brutal battle of attrition that World War One was,
Yeah.
and the mass amount of destruction that they could inflict on each other that had never like at all been done before, the implementation of aircraft, trains, I mean, everything you can think of. War had never been done on a scale such as what had been done in the First World War to that time, at all, ever. The French being the ones that kind of had like the hardest hit casualty. They probably suffered the most casualties in the beginning of the war, because they tried to, well, let's be honest, they tried to rank and file march their way into a line of fire that was met by machine gun fire, which was at the time had just been introduced by the Germans. Go figure. The Germans, they were one of the first ones to kind of implement this. They were one of the first ones to implement machine gun fire, right? Because they invented, I believe it was the, oh my gosh, again, that's another thing I looked up, that it was a certain type of machine gun.
It wasn't the Maxim gun. That was,
no.
We had the Gatling gun. But anyway, so while he's talking
it was
about
the
that,
Maxim gun. You're right. It was the Maxim gun.
That
Hey,
was
Mako. There you go.
That was a guess.
So the Maxim gun, yeah, it fired like ridiculous amount of rounds. And the French just were not prepared for how quickly they were going to be taken out by quite a few of them this on the line. Now, getting back to our subject matter on hand, the Christmas truce began essentially that Christmas Eve. You had men
Well,
on
hold
both
on.
sides. Go ahead.
Go a little bit farther back. So they were talking. So as we mentioned earlier, they were expecting it to be done by Christmas.
Yes, they
So
were. They were expecting it to be done by Christmas.
German advance had been checked at the Marne, and then a race to the sea between Germany and the Allies played out at Ypres. The result was a bloody stalemate with a front that stretched from the Swiss border to the North Sea. Now, and also at this time, by December of 1914, you also had the realities of trench warfare settling in. We had weeks of heavy rain, which turned both the trenches and no man's land, which was the area that separated the two trenches. Sometimes it was as close as 50 yards.
Ice.
It was just nasty. It was cold. It was muddy. It was just awful to try to navigate all that kind of stuff. Furthermore, in early December, Pope Benedict XV had ascended the papacy just a month before the outbreak of war. And on December 7th, he issued an appeal to the leaders of Europe to, I think, what does it say? That the guns may fall silent at least upon the night the angels sing.
Yes.
So there was that. German Emperor William II contributed to the holiday atmosphere when he sent Tannenbaum, which is Christmas trees, to the front in an effort to bolster morale. German soldiers on December 23rd, German soldiers began placing the trees outside of their trenches and sang hymns like Stille Nacht, which is Silent Night, and voices from the Allied lines responded with Christmas carols.
In the German tongue, it would be pronounced Stille Nacht. Stille Nacht.
Thank you, Jeeves.
You're welcome.
I don't freaking speak German, damn it. Well, except for what you send me. We say this in Germany from that guy that you always send me the damn clips of on Facebook and stuff.
He's fantastic, isn't he?
Yeah, he's hilarious. So the Pope made a push to kind of keep this kind of like quiet everything down and stuff. Yeah. So, and then I think we were talking about this earlier, talking about like, so as it kind of depended upon the area. So there was 30 miles of front on the western area, and it kind of really depended on the type of troops that were there. There were some groups that were had more Saxon lineage that were a little bit more eager to work and kind of cooperate with, from the aspect of having a truce with the British folks, because it actually been in Britain and England previous to the start of World War One.
Some of the Germans actually, some of the Germans, they actually, excuse me, they worked there. I believe, and the thing is like that was because you got to remember, especially with like the royal families and things like that. The major royal families that, like, honestly, let's be honest, they kind of really instigated the war to begin with, which was Russia, Britain, and Germany. These guys were all cousins. So there were very, very, they were very, very, like, I guess you could say tight relations.
Do you mean to tell me that World War I, when you boil it down, just a bunch of cousins sitting around going, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry?
Literally, it is. Folks, essentially,
I know I'm on this podcast, but
contest.
I know I'm on this podcast, but you have to kind of. This is one of those moments where I'll tell you should ignore what the fuck I'm saying, because I sound like a moron, because I'm just dumbing this down to the worst of just awful TV from the 90s. We're talking about the Great War, World War One, and I'm comparing it to Jerry Springer Show. You're welcome, and we're back, and we're gonna keep going. So, yeah.
It was funny though, because Kaiser Wilhelm, who ended up being kind of like the more aggressive of the three, he actually had kind of like a bit of a deformity, and I believe it was his left arm. I don't remember what it was, but he would conceal. he used he used a saber to kind of rest his arm on so that it just looked like he was resting his arm. But what nobody really noticed is that his left arm, I believe, if I remember correctly, like I said, I believe it was his left, was kind of gimpy. I don't remember the condition he had, but he hit it very well because obviously royal families, have to exude strength. So,
That's exactly what I was going to say. Can
so
you, by chance, pop? Sorry to interrupt you, but can you pop
no, go
into
ahead.
this picture and zoom it in a little bit for the folks that are watching?
For El Britannica,
Yeah, that photo right there. Can you possibly? Can
boom,
you zoom in on that anymore?
absolutely, boom.
So
Time
okay, so
bomb.
and you could tell the German troops during World War One because they had the helmets that had that spike on the top of
Yes.
them.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I bring that up is when I was in Afghanistan, we were when I was in the town of Mez, we were up in Mazari Sharif. We were touring the Kalajinga prison, which is the site where they had the CIA and the special forces fighting the Taliban and stuff. We actually found a helmet, a German World War One helmet that had a spike on it like that.
Oh, nice.
I got
Damn, you should have kept that
somebody's
thing.
got a picture somewhere, man. I don't know where the hell it is. It might not be in my stuff, but somebody took a picture
Yeah,
of it. And I'm just like, no
you should have
shit.
kept
So,
that thing, man. I would have
oh,
kept it.
I think
You're holding in your
somebody,
hand a piece of history.
I think somebody did. I think somebody, one of the officers, probably took it and filled out the right forms for it and took it home as like a war trophy or something. Because they did that. They did it by the book and stuff, whatever. But I just
Yeah.
always like the whole little boop boop kind of thing, the unicorn dome on it. So
The Huns.
yeah, the Huns. So
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, actually, now that we mentioned the picture, if you notice in this picture, they have the nice little Tannenbaum right here, as the Germans would call them. They were, they were to us obviously known as Christmas trees. But that was actually doled out to them by many of the officers. Now, before all of this started happening, what had happened is essentially the Germans were singing carols. I don't remember exactly what point in the line, and I don't think any of the articles that we reference here they don't exactly state where it started. It just states that the Germans were singing Christmas carols, and I believe it was again Silent Night or Stille Nacht as they would sing. And what ended up happening is the British would like kind of chime in with their own Christmas carols, and it kind of became like a kind of like I'm gonna throw shit at you and you throw shit back, which
but
ended
Christmas
up
carols.
of Christmas carols. Yeah, they and at one point, some of the Germans, I believe, one point they actually ended up screaming, "British, go home!" Kind of just kind of being like, "Hey, let's poke the bear." In
Well, I
one
also
part of the
remember.
line,
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I do also remember reading from the research that we did. The Germans came out and they were waving their arms just to say, "Hey, we don't have
We
anything. We're
don't have
coming
anything.
out."
Yeah,
They met in the middle of no man's land together. They kind of shook hands. They also, in some instances, exchanged gifts and whatnot.
they sure
Um,
did. Now think about that for a minute, though. Think about that part for a minute, though. Think about the idea of these guys. Now, bear in mind, there's still bodies from their side and the other, strewn about the place, and they're all meeting up in the middle to kind of be like, hey, shoot, I know shoot, you know, um, and it's kind of like this. It's almost fantastical when you think about it. To think about the idea that in the middle of what could literally be considered hell, and this is why a lot of people also call this the Christmas miracle, the World War I Christmas miracle, because it's nothing has ever been seen like it before or since. This was the absolute, I believe, if I remember correctly, this is like the absolute like first time in history where people of like opposing sides ended up just ceasing all combat operations for like the amount of time that they did just to kind of like, say, hey, let's and back then too, like if you look at some of the old like newspaper clippings and things like that have been popped up, nobody believed it. Nobody believed that these guys just said, you know what, let's stop shooting for a little bit. And they all went out and they played football, as the Europeans like to say, because American football is not football. It's we don't know what that is, but it is it's not football. Because of course.
Stay on track there, voice machine.
Just saying. Yeah.
Any chance you get to do a damn accent, you're like, I get to do my comedy chops a little bit. No, but
Listen,
you bring
there,
up a
gay.
you bring up a good point though, because it was saying that a lot of the junior officers and stuff ended up along certain points along the Western Front were telling their guys like, hey, don't necessarily shoot. It's like, that's where the whole term live and let live comes from, is they were
Yep.
telling them really don't shoot and stuff along. But it wasn't uniform. It was very sporadic and stuff along the entire 30-mile stretch of the Northern Front and whatnot. I mean, I was just reading something that I missed earlier. It was saying, where the hell was it? It was crazy. There were some casualties as a result of non-universal implementation of the truce.
Yes.
And even among the units which
there were
observed
many
the
along the line that
ceasefire,
did not do it. Yeah.
not all men approved of the decision. Adolf Hitler, who was a dispatch runner for regimental headquarters, rarely went as far as the forward trenches, sharply criticized the behavior of men in his regiment who had opted to join the British in no man's land. Quote, such a thing should not happen in wartime. End quote. He is reported to have said, quote, have you no German sense of honor? End quote.
Yeah. And the cool thing about another cool thing about it too was like at one point you could see like right here, this image right here. It's very telling of what it's a very human side of combat, where I think like many people didn't really, I guess, dehumanization of your enemy became a very popular thing to do. I would really say post World War One. And I'm sure that there was a lot of bad sentiment, like a lot of bad blood on, you know what I'm saying? But during this time frame, like they all recognized each other as just being people that are just fighting on different sides. And there's no other telling photo, or there's no other way to like really to show that, aside from like, images like what I'm showing on the screen right now, which is these guys playing soccer.
To a certain level, I mean, they had respect for one another. Whether it's all the time, whether it's just in this particular moment. It's kind of like if you watch some of those documentaries about Lieutenant General Hal Moore, who was portrayed by Mel Gibson in We Were Soldiers Once and Young, the movie We Were Soldiers. He talks about later, many years after the war, meeting his counterpart, who was the commander of that division of Viet Cong military that was there at Ya Drang. And they actually talked about like tactics and all this stuff. It's like we actually had a little bit of healthy respect for one another. It's like, I don't see that anymore. It's
not
like,
at all,
because it's just a different type of warfare. I mean, hell, GWAT was not. We're not sitting down with these guys and doing all that kind of stuff.
Sure the hell aren't.
It's insurgency. It's urban warfare. It's a whole different kind of ball game, so to speak. So
it leaves. No, you're right. No, man, and you're right, man. No, it leaves a lot of room for dehumanization.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of this season, man, like you got to really you got to really sit down and think. I'm going to get philosophical for a minute.
Oh boy.
you think about these guys, right? And they're
Okay,
warring.
can you cut away from the picture?
Oh, yeah.
Bring that up so we can now. Okay, that's better. Go ahead.
And you think about these guys, completely different nations, complete opposite sides of a battle, right? These guys were able to find something that they could relate to, something that they could relate to with each other on, right? In the middle of hell, again, because I mean that's literally what it was. No Man's Land was literal hell. It's a just damning and I believe stark contrast to what we have today, just currently, even just in relations with neighbor to neighbor nowadays.
Oh, and in our daily lives, absolutely.
In our daily lives. And it makes you think to yourself. It makes you think to yourself, like, man, like, where the hell is the civility? Like, this kind of civility was found on a freaking battlefield. On a battlefield. And these guys didn't know each other from Adam. They really didn't. They didn't know each other. They didn't know each other from Adam. They just knew, hey, they're singing the same Christmas carols we sing. Or, hey, they like to play football too. Or, hey, these guys like this guy's like a particular kind of wine or a particular kind of tobacco. In the heat of combat, they were able to find something that pulled them all together, and they were able to kind of just bring themselves together in a group and kind of just chat about things. And one thing that really, really sets it out for me is if you read one of the other articles that was I believe were mentions where the guys that they worked in Britain, a lot of these guys spoke English. The British didn't speak any German, but especially the Germans, a lot of them spoke English because of the work, the overseas work that they had to do in Britain. So these guys were able to really just sit down and actually genuinely speak to each other.
Yeah.
And again, these guys were mortal enemies. They were mortal enemies, like just hours, like, I mean, what, 24 hours before? It makes you think, man, like if we can find, if we can find the civility to do something like that in the middle of something so traumatic as the combat that these guys experienced, what the hell is stopping us from doing that now?
Yeah.
It really does make you think, what in the hell is making it, what is stopping us from doing that now? And like, it really makes you stop and think, like, have we really gotten that far gone? You know what I mean? Like, have we really gotten that far gone where we can't even, stop and think and talk to each other? Here's some articles that some newspaper clippings, I mean. So if you look, right, this was something that was so profound. Even
if you're able to look, if you're listening, imagine.
If you're yeah, my bad. I forget we have people that listen to us in the car too. But but if you look, like, it was so profound even back then, right? That let's see where I'm trying to share it. Hold on. There it is. So this is just one of many articles, right, that were dropped where you can see that they were completely flabbergasted by the fact that these guys in the middle of a war were able to just kind of say, hey, you know what? Let's just hang out for a little while. You don't shoot, I won't shoot, And this is just one of many. So it literally says Christmas in the trenches, how the men who are fighting spend Christmas and how for a long time the soldiers of the warring nations forget that they are enemies. And I love that little phrase, right? They forget that they are enemies. And I don't know, man. It just, you stop and think about it. You know, when the hell did we as a people, as like kind of like one country, like how the hell did we become enemies all of a sudden? Because I guarantee you, if we really stop and really think and we stop and sit there and actually try to relate to each other, we're going to find a hell of a lot more things that we really agree upon than we disagree upon. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like this is a great intro to the season, because we have to, as a group of people, we have to have these conversations. You know what I'm saying? We have to. We have to have these conversations because there's just too much fighting, man. There's just too much fighting. And not to sound hippy dippy, because trust me, you know, if it comes down to it, I'll get down to it. However, I'm just tired of seeing people going at each other's throats, man. It's gotten to be too much. It's gotten to be way too much. And the way things get spun, the way things get talked about in the media and everything else, you know, I think we need a real kind of Hail Mary, if for lack of better terms, you know, to kind of bring us back to where we should be, you know, as a group, as a people.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And I don't think there's any other greater example than the 1914 truce, man. It's because all those guys were able to come together on something that they related to. And again, bear in mind, you know, French soldiers, British soldiers, Saxons, you know, technically, and it's weird because back then they actually considered a lot of those different groups, they actually considered themselves ethnicities. And you know, different, like, you know, sometimes they even consider themselves different race groups, which is so crazy. um I find, and this is why I love looking into World War I. World War I just has so many, and I feel like it needs to be restudied, and re-looked back into. The only unfortunate part is that when it comes to World War I, many documents over the years have gotten lost, because document keeping was well done for the time, but not well done enough for longevity, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Totally.
So, but I honestly think, man, like at this point, man, we, again, like I said, we need a Hail Mary, dude. This is one of those things where we can learn from, you know, we can learn from these groups. I really do genuinely believe we can learn from these groups, because there is a lot to be learned, you know?
Yeah. You know, the whole time you were talking about like getting back to where we were, it reminded me of a joke that I saw. Where
Yeah.
I think it might have been Robin Williams, where he said, somebody asked Gandhi, "What do you think about Western civilization?" And Gandhi said, "I think it would be a good idea." You know, it's like everybody's just so disjointed and everything else right now. It's like
Yeah.
there's so much divisiveness and, you know, separation and just fragmentation amongst society. It's crazy. So we got to
It
do our
really
best
is.
to fix that. So especially this time of year. I mean, it's hard enough. Some people get in like the holiday blues and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, you know, we got to do our best to fix that. Take a few, like, you know, being kind to somebody Doesn't cost a damn thing, but it sure as hell makes a difference to somebody else's day. Like,
Absolutely.
especially all these people that have to work during the holidays and like it's crazy and stuff. Like, be patient, be kind. Don't be a twat. Okay, just don't do it. All right. So,
Yeah.
what else, if anything, did you have that you wanted to add to that, or we pretty much good?
I just want people to look at one more image.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a listener, right? If you're a listener, and you're listening to this in the car or whatever, take the time at some point and just look up these images. One of them is going to be from the Daily Mirror.
Wow.
And it's crazy to think that Great Britain's Daily Mirror has been in operation.
Can you zoom in on that? I think it has the date up there at the top. If you can.
It's a fuzzy image. It might not be good.
Does it say anything in the?
Nah, I can't zoom in on it very
Can
much
you?
more.
Does it say anything in the caption below the picture?
It does, but it's also fuzzy.
No, not on the photo. Just on what it says, like the text.
Oh, and historic British and German soldiers photographed together. Daily Mirror, London, January 8th,
January 8th in
1915 is when they took that. Is when that article actually dropped. So 1915, they dropped that article, right?
It even has this thing that says, "Why the delay?" Is that the Daily Mirror oversees weekly edition? Yeah.
If there's one thing I can take away from this, and we could go a lot more into this subject. It's because the idea of what they went through is fascinating. I actually kind of want to do a little bit more of an in-depth study. There's a book that actually goes by individual account. There's quite a few guys that actually recorded it in journals and talked about it and things like that. And I can't remember who the author was, but he did from what I could tell, looks like a fan-damn-tastic job of kind of getting those notes together and kind of putting it up into one thing, into one solid document where you could see, like, what were the guys' views? Were they scared? Were they not? What was it? You know what I mean? But it kind of makes you wonder, like, if you look at these images specifically, these guys, and I, like I said, I really want everybody, like, if you're a listener watching on the road or whatever, or listening on the road, whatever, look these images up when you get a chance. I would say for our American audience, really. I mean, hell, even if you're one of our listeners from outside the country, whatever, look at these images and tell me where you see these guys. In what way are they different besides the uniform? What way are those men different if they're not without them wearing the uniform? I could tell you, besides the language that they speak, I mean, probably not much, especially not back, especially, it's, these guys were just there doing a job. They were either conscripted or volunteered, as much as people like to, talk about the draft and all these other things. For many of the conflicts throughout history, a very good vast majority of our soldiers, whether it be American, British, whatever it was, they were, for the most part, volunteers. They weren't really conscripts. Yes, there were conscripts from, obviously like a draft or whatever, but they didn't make up the whole majority of, the guys that served. These guys were just there doing a job, and that was what they were there for. And when they found something that they could relate to with, essentially, like I said, guys that were supposed to be their mortal enemies, just 24 hours later, it's a fascinating way, I think, for us to start off the season, and honestly, for us to kind of really just stop and think to ourselves. There's a lot more that binds us than there is that divides us. And again, I know it sounds hippy dippy shit. It sounds like some hippy dippy shit. Again, I'm not a hippy dippy whatever. Okay, I'm not. I'm none of that shit. However, I am a very big proponent of, even though people annoy me, I still love people. Um, this is what it is, dude.
No, just the honesty of that statement. It's like people annoy me. I still love them. Just I'll love you from afar. Go over there, leave me alone.
Literally, I as much as people annoy me, I love people, man. And
Oh man, that's great.
it fucking breaks my damn heart every day. I think about the fact that we've gotten to the point where it seems like there's no going back, and it's like, dude, if we're not even fighting on this level right now, you know what I'm saying? Within our country, we're not even fighting on this level of these guys who are literally, again, blowing each other apart, shooting each other up, filling each other with holes, and stabbing
Having to
freaking,
endure no man's land
having
and
to
all the
endure no
nonsense that
man's
goes
land.
with that. I mean, and that's not even as bad as it was.
Yeah,
The nastiness and the horrors of no man's land and the mustard gas came much later
much
after this.
later. Yeah.
Much later. This is just kind of the beginning of the war.
And they
So
had suffered on both sides massive casualties by that point. And
yeah.
even
Hundreds of
then at
thousands.
that point, yes, even then at that point, they said, you know what? Hands up. Hey, shoot, I know shoot. Let's say we just hang out for a little bit. And they literally went on to allow this truce to last up to 4 days. The good we can do if we just say, hey, shoot, I don't shoot, metaphorically speaking, right? And just really just stop and sit and listen to each other. I think it would be a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic way to kind of just, start off the holidays, man, and kind of just find that center again. Just saying.
I agree. So yeah, besides being a historical point, this is kind of what we wanted to bring up because this gets into this time of year. We're getting into that time of year where things just are a little bit hectic. It's crazy. And my job being a therapist, like, some of the kids are acting crazy because like they're off school for a week. They're gonna go back for a couple
Yep.
of weeks. They're gonna be off for 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and it's just gonna be like,
Yep.
it's gonna be nutso. So
Yes, sir. It is.
take a minute, have some sympathy and some compassion and some respect for your fellow human being, and just it's like a shirt that I bought. It says, be kind on the front. On the back, it says, everyone you know is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Okay.
Correct.
Take the time to just be nice to your fellow human being. So if you don't have anything else, dude, I'm going to start closing this out.
Kindness goes a long way.
It does.
Sometimes it takes bigger balls to be kind than it does to be freaking a jerk. Just saying.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Correct.
I agree with that. Anyway, folks, so this has been our talk on the World War I Christmas truce or the Christmas miracle, depending on how you know it or how you look at it. Kind of, very specific reason we want to get into this, just tell everybody take time to just, hey, go spread some joy and some kindness in the world. Okay. So, again, if you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. We hope you appreciated our conversation and enjoyed the content. Alamo and I have known each other since high school, as I mentioned earlier. And this is, if you've heard this story before, I'm sorry. I say this story for the folks that haven't, so just bear with us. Alamo and I have been friends since high school. We both went off and joined the military post 9/11. What is it with you and the damn bubbles, dude? Are you a child? God, Your ADHD is kicking in hard right now. Dang.
Actually, no.
You
I
just need to
had
have a
some
fuzzy
mushroom.
squirrel sitting here. What?
I had some mushroom coffee, dude.
Oh boy.
The focus level I'm at right now is like.
I noticed. 'Cause you were like kind of to the point of hyperfixation. I was like, okay, he's a little bit more, streamlined focus, laser focus. Instead of being a cluster bomb, he's like a laser guided munition right now. It's like, all right, let's ride this train. Anyway, all good. Not giving you a hard time. So, like I said, Alamo and I have known each other for a long time. After the military, we kind of, came back into society. Ended up working together for a while. Had this good friend of ours named John that we worked with as well. We all left from that place and kind of went off did our own thing. I had Alma reach out to me about doing an event for his wife. Big shout out to your lovely bride, Household 6, Tisha. She runs an organization called oh my god, I forgot the damn name of it. Jesus, I'm tired. Flipsidementorship.com. They are doing wonderful things over there. Check that out. We are kind of partnered and allied with them to do some certain things. Well, the first time we did that, it was before we started the show. Tisha asked me if I could come work an event for her. And I said, yeah, sure. So we did that. Alamo and I had a lot of fun. Then he reached out to me afterwards. He's like, we got to get the band back together like now. So
Do it.
Exactly. That's what I was looking for. You do that better voiceover voice. So we talked about it and we kind of were just kicking around some ideas and the idea and the concept of a podcast came up and I was kind of like, I don't know what the hell that's about, dude. Like I know everybody does one, but I don't know shit about a podcast. He's like, dude, they sent a monkey in outer space. Like, how hard can that be? I'm like, I'm feeling a lot more confident about myself. Those are good facts. So in the process of kind of coming up and discussing this and kind of conceptualizing all this, we found out that our good friend John that I mentioned previously had some demons and he unfortunately solved a temporary problem with a permanent solution and is no longer with us. So I found out on Facebook through a friend of his. And then I reached out to Alamo. I was like, hey, man, did you hear about John? And I think you said something like, no, it's his birthday. I got to call him. And I was like, well, you can't. He's gone. So, it kind of took us both really off guard. And I told Alamo, I was like, hey, man, I'm in. Like, let's do this. Like, that was like my catalyst moment. Like, let's do all this stuff. So we kind of really set the plans in motion to get this going. And we kind of, came up with the idea of the Battle Bros podcast. And
which, by the way, did you know that the first chimp ever launched into space was named Ham?
Oh, buddy, that laser focus of yours is crazy right now. Where the hell did that come from?
I don't know. Monkey launched into
You just
space.
looked that up?
I
Did you just look it up while we were talking?
did.
Jesus. Good
The-
Lord.
The second was named Enos. Yeah. I don't remember what Greek god that was in the pantheon, but yeah.
Alamo, I love you, dude, but no more damn mushroom tea before we get on the fucking air anymore, okay? This is wild, right? Holy shnikes. Anyway, so we came up with the idea of the Battle Bros podcast, what we were going to call it, and we also came up with the Battle Bros code. And what the Bros code is 4 easy things you can remember when things get a little bit hard, we wish that John had reached out to somebody and was able to talk to somebody and figure out, what needed to be done to get some help. That unfortunately didn't happen. So that's kind of the motivation behind the Bros code. Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
the finest traditions of the Army, everything's an acronym. It's keep it simple, stupid, kind of simplistic. So that's what we did. So if you can remember BROS, you're going to be good. And we're going to tell you what those are right now. So B is be tenacious. No matter what you do in life, go out and do it to the fullest of your ability, whether it's being a parent, whether it's being a human being, whether it's being a friend, a coworker, a confidant, a family member, whatever title you claim, whatever title you earned, whatever mantle of accomplishment you rest upon or hold yourself high into. Do it to the utmost of your ability, okay? In the words of the great Ron Swanson, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. And to be a whole ass, the whole ass being tenacious, okay?
Yes, sir.
That's all I got to say about that. R, refuse to surrender. There are going to be times in life when things get hard. That's anybody. You don't have to be a military member, a service member, a veteran to know that. Like, that's just life in general. Shit gets hard sometimes.
Yes,
It is
sir.
what it is, okay? When that happens, just remember not to quit, okay? Sometimes you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get, dusty. You're going to get muddy and all that kind of stuff. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, reorient yourself, pull out your compass, reshoot your azimuth, orient your map, and keep going. Okay, keep moving on and try to hit that, where you're going and stuff. Try to hit that OBJ, that objective.
Hell yes.
Oh, obliterate your obstacles. Going along with the last one, those obstacles, like, don't let them define you. Don't let them beat you. Okay. Sometimes it's just as simple as going around a detour, around a tree or something. You're not always going to have a straight and narrow path. Sometimes you might have to kind of zigzag around or whatnot. Sometimes you got to take a detour. Sometimes you get a little bit off track, but it's just a longer detour.
Find yourself some defilade.
Pretty much. Sometimes you got to go quite a bit off the path that you were on, skirt the river or whatever that you're trailing, get back on the main road later. That's fine. Whatever it takes. Sometimes the obstacles are a little bit more drastic. Sometimes it's a brick wall. Sometimes it's a structure. It's a bridge. It's a whatever. Sometimes you got to climb over it. Sometimes you got to dig under it, tunnel, burrow under it. Sometimes you got to swim down the river, whatever it takes.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes you don't have the option of doing anything other than blowing a freaking hole in it. And that's fine. You get some C4, some det cord, prime cord, all that good stuff. Make a hole, blow it out. And if that's not available, you can always drive a vehicle through it, and that works too. So that's all good. Whatever it takes. Obliterate your obstacles and keep moving on to the OBJ. Last and most certainly most important, S, and that's seek out help in a time of need. As you mentioned with our friend John, he was a guy that was worth having around. He was a funny dude to work with, just would give you the shirt off his back if it meant making your life easier or better. And, every time we do the show, I think about him and I miss him a lot. And there's nothing we can do to bring him back except to just continue this show and honor him and those like him by doing what we're doing. And if him being here still meant us not having a show, I would gladly make that trade in a heartbeat, because he was a guy worth knowing. He was a guy, John was an experience. You just had to be around him and just know how fucking hilarious this guy was. Like, straight up, like, he was a hilarious dude.
It definitely was.
And I just wish he would have. We'll save that for another time. But I really wish he would have realized that, there were options to get some help. Okay. Whatever he needed. For whatever reason, a lot of people in our subculture, our subsect of society, feel like they have to go through things alone. And that's just not the case. That's not necessary. It's not even a demand. It's like, that's just a path that we choose, or we're uninformed to realize that, hey, there's other things out there that can help us. We are social creatures by design, just like primates or pack animals or whatever. We do better in groups. Okay. Don't feel like you have to do things alone. Okay. If you ever feel like you're going down a bad path where there's only one way out and it's a permanent way out, I would really highly encourage you to just stop, take stock in what you have, and think about those around you and reach out to one of them. Alamo has been there for me a bunch of times. I've been there for him. We've contacted each other sometimes all hours of the night and just been like, man, I'm not doing too good. Like, I need somebody to talk to. We've sat down, we've had a beer,
Shit. I almost had a panic attack and had to fucking text this guy from Las Vegas.
You did text me. You're like, dude, I'm freaking out. And I'm like, all right, you're good, man. Like, let's figure it out. I forgot about that. Yeah. But if you have the ability, reach out to somebody. I mean, whether it's a family member, a coworker, somebody that knows what you're going through, whatever the case may be, reach out to somebody. If you don't have anybody, unfortunately, there are options out there. Okay. If you feel like you're going down a bad path and there's only one way out and you're going to harm yourself, stop, pick up the phone, and either dial the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You can either call them at 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255. The last four numbers spell the word talk, TALK. 800-273-TALK, Tango Alpha Lima Kilo. You can also dial the 3-digit 988. Again, that's 988. Once you get on the line with them, you're going to select option 1 to speak to somebody right there. They have people on the line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that will help you through your moment of crisis. Okay. The fact that we have this many people, veterans and whatnot, a day choosing that permanent way out is unacceptable. Okay. We have to do something about that. And that's kind of our underlying mission with this podcast is to stop people from, depleting their family, their, fellow brothers and sisters from the military. Like, you are a resource. You are an advocate. You are somebody that needs to be here to tell your story, to pass along wisdom and advice to others. But, don't do that to yourself. All right. Because there's no coming back. It's permanent. All right.
Yeah.
So just stop and take stock on what you have, especially this time of year. I know it's hard. A lot of people get the holiday blues and stuff, and we'll probably mention this next couple of weeks while we're on during the season, the holiday season, that is. But just remember, like, you deserve to be here. You deserve to have your story told and all that good stuff. So
That's
if you can remember those 4 things: be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need, you should have a pretty good chance of doing a little bit better to make yourself to the next day, and get yourself on the path to betterment, to better yourself. Okay.
Damn, Skippy.
So that's all I got. At this point, I'm going to hand it off to Alamo. He's going to finish up the rest of the sign off stuff, and then we're going to get out of here for the week. So take it away.
So, once again, we want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for coming and seeing us right after the, good holiday itis. Yes, we're all dealing with it.
Ooh, that itis. That's a real thing.
It's a fantastic itis, though. But either way, if you want to catch us on the social medias, we're completely available on multiple different platforms. You can find us on the Faces book over at /Battle Bros dot podcast. Excuse me. You can also find us on Instagram, which is the other meta platform, which is Battle Bros _podcast. And you can find us on their competition. You know who that is? That's X, aka the Insta-Twit, aka Elon's bitch. At Battle Bros PC. You can.
You're on another level today, buddy. Oh, buddy.
You can instant message us on each one of those platforms, and we'd be more than willing to take messages from you, and more than willing to take ideas for shows from you. If you guys want to hear about certain topics, hey, freaking send them our way, man. We love hearing about new stuff, and we want to talk about new stuff. And if you guys got ideas, hey, you're our crowd. Let us know. Hey, I got an idea for you guys here, and then we'll take it under advisement and see what we like and go with what we like. If we don't, we'll say, hey, your stuff sucks. I'm kidding. No, we'll say, hey, thank you, but we're gonna go a different direction. Or hey,
just because you say all due respect doesn't mean you can say whatever you want to be. All due respect, yes, the hell it does.
That's right. If you ever have, say, like a family member or yourself not feeling too great about things, you want to do something a little bit less public, we do have our Gmail, which is battlebrospc@gmail.com. That is battlebrospc@gmail.com. One more time, battlebrospc@gmail.com. gmail.com. And you can go ahead and send us emails there. Say, for example, hey, thank you guys for, being those guys that, made me not make a bad decision, or, hey, I got a friend or family member, or hey, I'm just not feeling too great, guys. What do you guys think? We're going to be willing to actually answer that email for you. We monitor all these things 24/7. So if it ever comes down to it, guys, again, don't make that decision that literally will ruin it for not only yourself, it'll ruin it for everybody else around you. And remember, your loss affects everybody around you. It doesn't just affect you. You think you're taking yourself out of the equation, all you're doing is stacking another problem onto everybody else. And it's not good, man. That people need you here. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And part of the being the solution is making sure that you're here to stay. We also have other platforms that we're on. We're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as a Rumble. If you go to rumble.com and search in the search bar, all one word, Battle Bros, you can find us there, and you can search most of our episodes. Most of our episodes are on there. Not every single one, because for whatever reason, the communication between YouTube and Rumble got kind of finicky, and they stopped automatically uploading the episodes to Rumble from YouTube. So got kind of sucky for a little bit, but tis what it is.
You can go on YouTube and you can see every single one of our episodes that we've done. All 116 now, and you can put them on and listen to them and whatnot. And
and if you're one of those fancy
there's
premium members, guess what? You can listen to it without the screen being on while you drive. So it's good for you. Just putting that out there. So if you guys want to catch us on all those platforms, if you guys want to talk to us, hey, we're open for it. And we love hearing what you guys have to say. So just, hit us up. We're good.
Cool.
That's all I got.
Awesome. So once again, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We appreciate your viewer or listenership as we talk about the World War I Christmas Truce / miracle. Again, historical significance for warriors, the world around, but also just a reminder, like, hey, take a minute, stop, be kind, be a human to somebody else, don't be a dick, all that good stuff. So,
hell yeah,
we appreciate you stopping by. Just remember the four tenets of the Bros Code: be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. So if you can do those 4 things, you're going to be okay. But until next time, my name is Mac. This is Alamo. We are the Battle Bros Podcast. Thanks so much for stopping by. Hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving and a good start to their Christmas season. We will see you sometime very soon.
Battle Bros out.